Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fair Chase Podcast. Before we start this episode, we're going to again take a little time to thank a little bit of the people who help make this show possible.
First up is 2O Gear. It's a new brand that we just started partnering with. They make awesome high-end technical hunting clothes, camo. And so they're based in Michigan, and new company. We've tested them for months. I tested them in the whitetail season last year.
Great merino base layers.
Yep, great
awesome
merino
shells.
base.
Awesome new pattern.
A great system for going out west, but we'll use it a ton in the whitetail woods too. So really excited to work with them. 2ogear.com. Go check them out. Next up is Worldwide Trophy Adventures. It's an awesome, basically, connection to outfitters all over the world. So as a lot of people know, good hunting ground is really hard to come by. And oftentimes the best way to ensure that you're going to get in a good spot, or maybe you need to legally have a guide, is to go through an outfitter.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as you might know if you've heard us before, we've had good experiences and bad experiences with outfitters. Which means, in order to ensure you're going to have a good experience, you have to do a ton of research, you have to talk to people, it's just a lot of messing around. Worldwide Trophy Adventures, or WTA, does a lot of this work for you at no charge. So by booking your trip through WTA, you can rest assured that you'll be in a good location with a reputable outfitter that they've certified and endorsed. If you're looking to book a trip of a lifetime like I am, just headed to a moose hunt here through WTA, you're going to want to check them out. Go give them a call. Actually, I have the number right here. It's 1-800-346-8747, or check out their website at worldwidetrophyadventures.com.
All right, so we love Trophy Line. They offer more than just saddles. Believe it or not, they have their own climbing sticks. They've got platforms. They've got a ton of extra
packs.
gear. They've got packs. They've got everything.
Knee pads.
Everything that you're going to need to be a saddle hunter, they have it. So if you want to start saddle hunting this year and get into the game like everyone else and really love hunting even more, go to Trophy Line, check it out, use the code TFC10 to save yourself 10% on that purchase.
We're big bow hunters. Sights, quivers, stabilizers, those kind of things are really important if you're going to have a deadly setup. And so we've tried a lot of different companies in the industry, and we've kind of figured out that we really like Redline gear the best. So we are shooting their torch sights this year.
It's a really cool sight. There's a lot of good micro adjustments you can make. You can customize a lot of the stuff on there. Really make it your own.
The chargeable USB rechargeable light is
really
sweet.
Cool.
And so we're huge fans of their stuff. We use them all the time. It's worth going to check them out. Check out Redline. Use the promo code TFC10 for 10% off your purchase, and let us know what you think. We love them. Hey, everybody. Before we jump into this hunting story that Joe is about to tell about an elk hunt here, needed to remind you about a promo that Christensen Arms is running that goes through October 31. So if you don't remember, basically Christensen is a firearm manufacturer. They're the makers of the first carbon fiber barrel back in 1995. They make fantastic rifles. This one I just shot a moose with that we'll be telling the story of here soon. And so what they're doing right now is now through October 31st, when you buy an eligible Christensen Arms rifle, you send their team a form with your receipt. They'll verify your purchase and then give you a e-gift card for up to $750 to their store. So you can get accessories for your Christensen rifle. You can get some Leupold, Mystery Ranch, Half-Fades, Blades, Uncharted Supply Company, and many more products. All you need to do is go to christensenarms.com to learn more and take advantage of this incredible offer. I hope you enjoy today's podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another special episode of the Fair Chase Podcast.
If you say special before every single one,
I get to start the podcast however I want to, and this time I'm saying a special episode. So today I am the host, and actually I will be interviewing both Joe and James.
2 episodes.
There'll be 2 episodes in a row, so you'll get to embrace our lovely faces for both of those. And are we starting with you?
It's your call, man. Your podcast.
I actually want to start with Joe.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Joe, tell us about the trip that you just went on. To start off, I have not heard any of these stories. It's been killing me for number one because
literally.
Well, I know you guys have killed things. I have not.
That's not true.
You
That's
just
not
did
true.
tonight.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Should we start this podcast off with a word of congratulations
Thank
for
you.
Jared?
I actually have a
Shooting a doe. It's sitting in the back of his truck right now in all its glory. We went out and
I have not
stalked some
killed a deer yet. Neither have you.
I have not killed a deer yet.
So that's one thing you have up on us already.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fine. I feel like we've successfully, as a group, come together.
Really, as a
to
team. Mhm.
collectively.
Lots of death.
Make some,
Yeah, lots of death.
yeah. I actually got some blood on my pants, which I'm pretty happy about. But I want to talk about these trips you guys went on because they sound fantastic, and I was completely jealous the entire time when you guys were out there. And it's killing me that I don't know the story yet. So
It's
Joe-
not like you weren't invited.
Yeah, you were
I
invited.
wasn't. I couldn't have
Yeah.
made it anyway. Too damn busy.
Yeah.
And I also did call you after I shot it, but you were like the only one that can't figure out their phone.
Yeah, I know.
I called you on the way here too, actually, and it went straight to voicemail.
Shocking. You have to.
yeah.
You know what I do? I call him twice in a row, and it gets around that stupid silence mode.
I don't want to be in the middle anymore. I don't like this.
No.
Yeah, suck it, loser.
All right, shut
Put
up,
your phone on
idiots.
so we
Let
can
me
hear
hear
you.
this story. Joe, when and where did you go hunting in the past month?
We talking about specifically the elk, or
Yes,
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
hear the elk hunt.
It's been a busy month. So the 15th of September is roughly the time frame that I shoot for when I elk hunt.
Mhm.
Kind of that middle to third week time frame. Been hunting the same area for 4 years now and
Okay.
done pretty well. So I went there this summer and was there for work in Wyoming, bombed back up there, did a little bit of scouting, and then scouted another area that I was actually planning on hunting if I had like a full normal elk hunt where it's like 10, 12 days.
You're out
kind
there
of
for
thing.
work.
Yeah, but was out there for extra couple days to scout too.
Nice.
So didn't end up hunting that area, which kind of bums me out because I really want to get into that area and hunt it a little bit, something new. We were close to it where we were bear hunting.
Which part? What
The
happened
good
there?
part.
The day I missed my bear.
Oh, I like it back there.
So-
Oh yeah, you pointed some spots out when we were.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do want to get over there, but got in there on the 15th, familiar area-ish, and got there at like,
You got there late,
yeah, like
from
midnight.
what I remember.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I called you. Where were you? Oh, sorry, sir.
4.
Probably
shouldn't have put it there.
I think I called you when you were driving or something.
No, I had to call you because,
Yeah.
yeah, you were like,
Oh yeah, that's right.
so you were like, it was, oh shit.
I was in Saskatchewan at that
Yeah,
point.
it was like 2:00 in the morning at that point. So I landed all my bags, got there fine, which was good. But then I took an Uber to the U-Haul place, and U-Haul closes at like 8, and they're at midnight.
So
But
you're stuck.
in the past, they've like dropped the U-Haul off at the airport for me, and apparently they don't do that anymore. They're getting less cool. But they have that truck share thing now, where you go there, you sign in on the app, you take a picture of your ID, and then they give you the code of the key box. You get the truck, and you go.
Okay.
So
Easy peasy.
Right.
seems
You-
pretty
you would
seamless. I like did my research on it and like watched YouTube videos of people doing it. Like nothing could go wrong. Called them right before they closed. I'm like, hey, just confirming that my van is there. Everything's good. Yep, everything's good. Keys are in the key box. You'll have no problem. Sounds good. So get there, get dropped off by my Uber, bow case and tote in the parking lot kind of thing. And I'm going through this app and it's just like kind of clunky. It's super slow. And then it
get
asks for
started to hear that.
forms of identification. I'm like, no problem. Snap picture of the ID, put in all my stuff. And then like, it ran like 5 minutes of processing, and then it would come back saying denied. I need another form of identification.
Gosh.
So I call like the 24-hour helpline. They're like, yeah, since you're renting from out of state, you need to have 2 forms of ID. So you have to have like a passport
Oh
or
my gosh.
a birth certificate or something crazy
At like
that.
1 in the morning.
1 in the morning, I'm in Billings.
Yeah.
Like, this
Yeah.
is awesome. Like, well, what else can I do? Is there anything that we can do that keeps me from sleeping in this parking lot until 8 a.m. the next morning? And like, well, we could have someone call and vouch that you are who you are. So it's 2 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock in the morning in Billings. It's 4 o'clock in the morning at home. The only one I know that's west of me that might still be up is James because he's driving back from his hunt.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Call the old boy.
I call his ass and I'm like, hey, U-Haul is about to send you like a code. You need
Yeah.
to, like,
Really?
vouch
Oh,
for
yeah.
me. Yeah. So they did that, kicked it back, and they're like, all right, we need one more form. I'm like, what about another guy? And then sent it to Jordan, the camera guy.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Had him do it. Finally, they kick it back, get the van.
Holy crap.
This lady calls me and she's like, Do you know Joe Griffin? I'm like, yeah.
Oh, they actually call you?
They called me. A woman called me, and it was like she didn't even say goodbye. I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, click. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, the same drill for Jordan.
That's
Just
all
like,
it takes to identify
basically
somebody. Just,
identifies you.
hey.
Is it you? And yep. Okay, click.
So got that figured out. Hit the road. Got there at like, I don't know, 4:30 at this point. So it's like, there's no point in going to bed now. I was going to sleep in the van for a couple hours, hoping I'd get there at like 1, 2 o'clock, but that didn't happen.
No.
So started loading stuff up. It was cool. A little bit of wind, but like just nice elk hunting weather. So like, I'm just going to work my way up this ridge. Done it a million times in the dark, so I kind of know the chute to go up and the ones not to.
Was this the same spot that you killed the elk in the blizzard?
Same area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Within 2 miles of that.
Okay.
So
Cool.
same string of mountains.
Sure.
But
Yep.
Climbed up to that ridge, got there right at daylight, and ripped off a bugle. And it was like immediately after I bugled, I heard cows going nuts below me, and then a bugle. I'm like, holy cow. And it's like the same thing that happened the year before, or 2 years before. I didn't have a tag last year, but had 2 bulls come in within the first 15 minutes of me hunting last year or 2 years ago and shanked a tree, unfortunately. So they were doing the same thing. They came out, there was a bunch of cows, a spike, and like this little 3x2 raggy dude. So they all went by me, went up and over the ridge, and one side it's all like big rocky burn, and then one side it's all dark timber on the north face.
Okay.
And so it's like dark timber from 6,800 feet all the way down to like 4.25 kind of thing.
Ways down.
Yeah. So rip a bugle up at the top facing down to the dark timber, and heard a couple piping off way down on the bottom. They were still coming back up off of the base and into the timber. So like, good. I'm just going to kind of chill here and let them come back up to their beds, because they usually bed up in that top third of the mountain. And I'm much more in striking distance than if I'd try to
Get down.
kamikaze them. So
Yeah.
stayed up there, kind of let them do their thing. They came up a little bit more. They kind of stayed about that halfway point, and they never really bedded. I was surprised. Usually it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and they're about in their beds, and they kept just kind of shuffling back and forth on the side of the mountain, and the thermals were weird, and things were tumbling a little bit. And so I didn't bonsai in there like I usually do, just because everything was so uneasy.
Yeah.
They weren't bedding. The wind was really all over the place. So just kind of hung back for a little bit, got to like 2, 3 o'clock, and it finally started stabilizing. The sun came up. Thermals are drafting a little bit better now. So drop in on them. What happened then? I worked.
You fell asleep.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't yet. But
No?
No. Dropped in on them and didn't have a whole lot of action that first day until like 4 or 5 o'clock. Then they started kind of getting amped up again. They like 10 to 4, they kind of shut down and just sat in their beds and didn't do a whole lot.
Okay.
So,
Bless me.
bless you. Blessed be.
You're ruining the story.
Got into them later in that evening. Had a 5x5 come out at like 84 yards, just dogging a cow, satellite, trying to squeal him off the herd bull that was on private. And then it got dark, and I was like dead to the world, tired kind of thing. So just literally flopped out right there, put a tent on a very steep part of the hill, and just dug my heels into the tent like this and just slept. It was very uncomfortable,
Zonked out.
but like I had no gas left in the tank. It was time to sleep.
Did you? How long did you sleep?
I got up at 4 the next morning to
Okay.
go back up to the ridge, and so I'll either that night let it get dark and then get elevation again and run that ridge and bugle, or I'll get up well before light, get up on the ridge and bugle and kind of locate where they are in the dark, so I can come up with somewhat of a plan. I didn't have any energy in me to go back up to ridge run and bugle that night. I'm like, I'll just do it in the morning.
Yeah. Sure.
So
Right.
got up at 4, climbed up to the top, ridge ran a little bit, gets light at like 7:30. So bugled a little bit. They were all way down in the basin again, which was good. I actually slid back down, which is not what I typically do in the morning, because I typically like to have them come up and get close to their bed before I start making a play on them, because if you go at them right away in the morning, unless you really have a pattern to them and know what they're going to do, if you have a herd bull with cows and you're bugling him in the morning, trying to get him going, trying to pull him away from his cows, he's just going to push those cows and get him away from you kind of thing.
Just take him out somewhere else.
Right. He'd rather, at that time of the year, he would rather maintain the cows that he has than come fight you to either come get whatever cows you have, figuratively, or defend you. He'll just keep his harem to himself and keep him moving kind of thing. So if you bugle at him a lot in the morning, get him, like they'll respond, but typically it's like a gobbler will keep gobbling at you after he's seen you.
Mm-hmm.
He'll still shot gobble at you a little bit, but
Yeah,
he's want nothing to do with you.
Yep.
So let him come up, get into his bed, and once they're in their bed, they're stationary, they're much more killable.
Yeah.
Because then you can get inside of his bubble. And then if you bugle inside of that like 150, 200-yard bubble, then he's defensive.
He's like, you're real close to me.
Yeah,
Get
this
out
is
of
his
here.
bedroom. This is his cows. Now the cows are sitting down. He can get up and leave, defend his harem, and not worry about them drifting off kind of thing.
Makes sense.
Got in there with him. He had some satellites. He was a really good bull, like, I don't know, 320, 330 bull, which is pretty good for that area.
Yeah.
Big 6-point. And he had a dozen-ish cows with him, and then just satellites kind of orbiting his little bubble there. So you'd see one kick out into the broken timber. You'd see one on your way going into him. You'd get a flash of some hide going through the woods. Just they're always kind of there.
Just in case. Picking something off.
Yeah, so when if one comes from the side and he has to go defend that, they'll see an opening there and try to sneak a cow out of there kind of thing. And there was a herd here.
Real beta move.
Beta move, yeah. I know guys like that in school.
Yeah, I do too, yeah.
Just see the opportunity and they slide in.
They just slide in. That's what they got.
DMs.
The shoulder to cry on.
That's right.
I've always been that guy.
They're just good listeners.
They just get you more.
Yeah.
He just understands me. So I had a herd here with a herd bull, some satellites orbiting it. Another mile and a quarter. I saw another one down here right at first light go up into that. So that was kind of my plan B, is to go a little bit further west after that one.
Okay.
And then heard some more down on the private. And there's always satellites that orbit the private because they're there. So up on this hill, I slide into him. It's like probably 11:30. And I rip a bugle. I can see one of his cows on the outside. Usually there's like one sentry cow that kind of sits up on a knob and watches over everything, and he'll lay down with the rest of the cows. So I can see her. I rip a bugle and start raking, and he just loses his mind, bugles. Like, cuts me right off, glunking back and forth. He's moving cows around and stuff, but not really leaving this little – the bottom part of a drain comes up on a saddle, and they're kind of on both sides of this little saddle.
Oh, cool.
So it's one little hump in there, but they're just in this nasty spot to get to because it's – you have her sitting up on this little perch, and so you can see down both sides. So I'm kind of just glassing her as I'm bugling. I'll bugle. She'll kind of look over in my direction, but it's thick enough she can't see me, but I'm kind of glassing her. So when she relaxes and looks back the other way, I'll slide in a little bit further, then I'll bugle and rake and stuff. And I could just never get him to – I could pressure him. I could get him excited, but I could never get him to fully commit to come out kind of thing. So I had a nice satellite bull come charging in between us, and I had him at 64, and it was a good bull.
Sure.
Normally I would have killed him, but this one was like, I could see the herd bull now, and I'm in a spot where I think I could slide in and actually just kill him in his bed. Like, I don't need him to move kind of thing. So I'm sliding in on him. I passed the bull that was kind of skirting. He stood up for 1 second, pushed him off, came right back to his hole. Poof, sat right back down. Yeah, he was just like, this is his spot.
That's my pad.
Yeah, it was – like, you could tell it was just tore to shit in there. That was his little hole.
His little, bedroom.
So, moved in. I got to 61 yards from him, and he was bedded with his ass facing me, feet kicked out this side, and hills going down like this, and I'm, like, up and above him right here. So I've got a quartering away shot with his back hip right here. I need to, like, just pivot a little bit more above him and less behind him, and I could stuff one right into him.
Yeah.
And as I'm kind of like, I'm literally just like bow in hand, arrow nock like this, and just kind of creeping like this along the side of the hill. And I look up and I just see eyes right on me, and that cow had moved like 5 yards up on the other side of that saddle, and that bitch pegged me.
Really?
Like, bad. She didn't like. Usually they bark.
Yeah, the bark.
That alarm bark, and then the whole thing is cooked. But she just kind of walked right through the bottom, picked them all up, and they just went.
Really?
Kind of thing. She didn't bark. He didn't know what was up. They all just kind of
Okay.
skirted off. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to let them go for a little bit. I know kind of the area, like they're probably working down towards the other herd that I saw and go into that part of the timber.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to let them go, calm back down, make a move on them a little bit later. So I'm sitting there, and I think I was like texting or FaceTiming Chase or something like that, and just like relaxing for a second, eating a snack. And I just kicked back for a little bit and just kind of let things calm down. Longer than what I normally would. It was like an hour.
You're
maybe
just
two.
hanging out.
I'm just chilling there, kind of catching my steam back. I slept for 4 hours, so
Right.
I'm dog-ass tired. And all of a sudden, I just see tines coming through. And I'm like, shit, my bow is here, not arrow knocked. I just grabbed my rangefinder, 31, bull coming right up the hill
Holy
at me.
Really?
Yeah. So I grab my bow, and he's in this little draw. I'm right on the top of the little knob, and I draw, and he gets behind a tree and comes right around the edge here, and he's broadside. But yeah, he's right here. So he comes
today,
around. He comes around this tree, and the angle made it look like, because when I first saw him, he was coming straight at me.
Yeah.
When I ranged him, he was 31 coming straight at me. And then he kind of looped around this tree and continued the course a little bit. So I figured he was like, by the time I knocked an arrow, and during all this, I'm like flustered.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I
You're not
knocked
ready.
my arrow upside down. Cock vein is down instead of up, which doesn't frickin' matter. But I like panicked,
Yeah, you're
flipped it
right.
around, got it upright.
Yeah.
So come to full draw, and I put my 30 yard. I spun actually my sight to 30.
Okay.
20 and 36 on that 2-pin.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So I spun it to 30, and I figured he was inside of that by the time I flipped it, got drawn, and got on. It was perfectly broadside. So I put the 30 low, like
Sure.
right on the heart.
Yeah.
And I let the arrow go, and I watched that arrow just bury right behind the pin. It was too lower
low.
than I would have wanted to hit.
Yep.
So went through, perfect pass through. I'm like, okay, maybe we're just smoke the shit out of the heart.
We talked right after
Yeah.
that.
So he peels off, runs up the hill, 64 facing straight away, and I kind of gave him another one going through the brush. I thought I hit him again. Turns out I didn't.
Yeah.
Went right there, ran over the hill, dumped down out of sight.
Shit.
So I'm like, okay, go to my arrow, coated in blood. I'm like,
Good
maybe-
blood.
I mean, it's bright red.
Blood's blood.
Yeah.
Definitely not lung blood, bright red. So I'm kind of like, is this heart? Is this muscle? Not sure yet. Take up his track, and I gave him a couple hours because I wasn't sure, but I took up his track.
Those are some long hours too.
They're
Yeah.
terrible.
You know what I
hours, Yeah.
And people gloss over that, but it's always like
It sucks.
some of the worst part is just sitting there like waiting.
Well, you're thinking, did I hit him too? Like you're saying, did you hit him too low? Did you hit him too high? Did I hit
Yeah.
him at all? Did
You
Yeah.
play everything through your head, and then the biggest thing afterwards is like, God, all of this was, I was sitting in the elk bedding area taking a breather. I just pushed the herd bull and his cows out of it slightly. Like, they didn't know it was
bumped
up, but I'm also sitting down in like the sanctuary
Yeah.
where they hang. Why don't I have an arrow knocked?
Right. But you were just chilling. You
Stupid.
figured you pushed him out, and so this was a satellite bull that had
This was a satellite. I think this is the same satellite bull that I passed at 64,
Yep.
making a loop because he
Wow.
heard the commotion and just came back up in there and was sent checking it or whatever. He was completely calm, just worked right up. My wind's in my face, had no clue I was there. I had all the time. I could have ranged him again. I could have spun the dial back up. I
Right.
could have just like slowed the hell down and held it in the high lung and crushed him and been done.
Yeah.
So I'm
Oh,
kind of
well.
I'm kind of foreshadowing here. I didn't find the bull.
Yeah.
So followed blood for 400 yards, and the first little bit of it was like any brisket hit,
Sure.
where it just like
I
so
forget
much
anything.
blood, but all dead center in the track.
But it's always enough blood to make your hopes
Excited.
It's
Yep.
high.
always
I had that
enough.
last year with that
Like,
buck I shot. And
big
I'm like,
ass
oh,
pools and
yeah.
like,
It's
it
like,
just-
he's bleeding. He's gonna bleed out.
right. No, they never do.
No.
Nope.
So spent that whole day just gritting, following different trails that he could have gone off when the blood dried up. He went down into a creek, and then I lost it after the creek a little ways after that. And during all this, I'm tracking not hunting, and there's bulls just frickin' screaming. Like it's straight Jurassic Park in this canyon.
Yeah.
So I'm like, son of a bitch. So bulls are chasing cows around me and kind of thing. And finally I get up and I'm like, I'm just going to get back up onto the knob and I'm going to start glassing.
Yeah.
And just see if I can see them. And sure enough, I get up on this rock and I'm glassing down on the bottom. There's elk freaking everywhere. I see him because he has a very distinct, his sword is super short on one side. I thought he was a 5x6, but it was a 6x6, just a super short sword tine on the one. And he's out there breeding a cow.
Really?
Same day.
Wow.
So
he's fine.
He's very fine.
A flesh wound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's through the brisket. I mean, it's going to bleed a lot. I doubt he would die of an infection there, kind of thing.
Right.
Usually that would clot back up. And
they usually survive that pretty well.
Good for him, though. What a trooper.
And he's banging
arrow
right
to the
afterwards.
It's a man
Getting
after my
after
own
it.
heart.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're a tough animal to begin with, and I know everyone says that about every freaking animal, but I've killed bulls that have brow tines that are broke off up in their skull. I've seen them where, like, my buddy afterwards killed a bull that got shot high in the shoulder, had an arrow lodged here, and this hole in the top, it must have been a really hard downward angle, was completely filled and overflowing with maggots.
Oh, so
And the bull
gross.
was still rutting.
Really?
Yeah. Like, they're just incredible.
It's that time you make hay while the sun shines, man.
Yeah.
You get a few weeks, the whole year.
He's going to die in dysentery.
You know what?
He's going
It's
to die
worth
with
it.
empty nuts.
Yeah, that's right. He's
might as
thinking to
well.
himself, there are worse ways to die at this point.
Yeah. So see him, realize that he's down on private now. He's not mortally wounded. He's
Right.
good. So made the decision to continue hunting, knowing that that was the case.
Yep.
So
I like it.
You gave it the old college try.
Yeah.
So
that
was he.
that morning, actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't that night. It was that morning that I saw him. I thought I saw him the night before, didn't confirm it. The next morning, I did see
You
him.
for sure saw
For
him,
sure,
yeah.
like saw the hole kind of thing. It was
Yeah.
already kind of like mudded over looking. So
Nice.
is what it is.
Rub some dirt in it type of deal. Yeah.
Right.
Swim in a wallow for a little bit.
Yeah.
So went back up and kind of repeated the same process. Got back up onto that ridge bugled up there.
Yep.
Heard some stuff fired back up. Went further west to the point where like that ridge gets cliffed out. There's a big rock face, and then you can shoot straight down, and it's a lot steeper timber, but there's more. How do I put it? It's like ribbed for the pleasure. So straight down, there's lots of little drainages
that
and
condom
little
draw.
chutes. Yeah. So, but
Trojan draw.
not this way. This way. So
Okay.
lots
course.
of like little contours with the mountain coming down. So if you're calling for yourself,
Yeah.
a lot more advantageous to do it that way.
Sure. That makes sense.
Calling for yourself is hard to begin with because you can't be like, you want to be out of sight of the shooter where the elk is going to be coming through. Cause like you think a turkey can pinpoint a sound, they can pinpoint a sound just like a
They
moose.
actually have outside ears. Turkeys just have holes.
Just holes,
Yuck.
So they can spin their ears around and
real ears. So I'm working these contours a little bit and bugle, and I have one. I get down to like the halfway point because there's been elk hanging a little bit lower, and bugle, and 3 bulls light up above me. I'm like,
Really?
sweet, I'm back up the freaking hill. So take one of those contours and just shoot until I think I'm even with them, and bugle again. And I don't hear another bugle, but I just hear branches breaking.
Yeah.
Like close. So went down and up onto a contour just so I can see over into the next one. And I'm shooting all my bugles projecting away from the bull.
Sure.
So he's hopefully going to assume that I'm down
Think
over
you're
the next
past.
one.
Yep.
So cow call a little bit, not really responsive to the cow calls. If I bugle, he freaking cuts me off screaming.
Really?
So I can see him now. 54 yards in the thick. He's raking a tree, just shredding it. He comes down to 30, and he's frontal facing me
Cool.
at 30, but he's down below me on one of these little contours.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
a tough.
So if bulls like this, I'm up here and I have frontal and frontal only.
That's
Like
a
he's-
terrible angle. You
yeah.
can't really do that.
You'd have to basically put it under his chin so close.
Shave
that-
him a little
Yeah, you'd have to like either hit the chin bone to get down into here to get, and that's a deep frontal shot. That's
Yeah.
not great. Usually you want to be even with them or below them to take a frontal and put it right in the
bit. Right up
baseball.
that little hole right here, right?
Yeah, so where the dark meets light, 8 inches above. So
Yeah.
Adam's apple, and that'll go the long way through them. But just didn't have it.
See, things you know.
Uh-huh.
Things
Things
you
you
learn.
know.
You got to shoot more animals head on.
Apparently.
That's how I got. Well, I
Or
won't
in the
spoil
butt.
it.
Or
in the
at all.
butt.
Or
in the butt.
We'll talk about that later.
So, but he got down to that bottom, and I let one more call go down over the ridge on the backside. He's only 30. I just need him to move. I need to go broadside. I need him to just do something.
Yep. Some
So-
kind of turn.
I look back and just bugle like this, facing away from him, and I turn back, and he's facing straight away from me, walking up the hill. Like, he walked down to the bottom, goes, nope, he's not here, and just about face, didn't look around, didn't pan,
Yeah.
just poof, right back up the hill.
Really?
You sly son of a bitch. So I drop down on my side of the contour, grab my pack, and sprint up this hill to get above.
And he can't see you.
No, he can hear me, but
He doesn't know.
he thinks I'm an elk.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So literally sprint up this mountain 500 feet to get it back onto the ridge, circle around, and my wind was marginal on that side. So I want to get above him, take that ridge, get on the other side of him.
What time of day is this?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
This is 3 o'clock, 2:30.
Okay. So, yeah, sure.
And it's within 20 minutes of when I shot the bull the day before.
Oh,
that
wow.
3 o'clock hour was just awesome. So got back up onto the ridge, dumped back over to the west further, came back down onto
Yep.
him again, lost like another 250 feet, gained 500, over 500, down 250,
Yep.
bugled, cut me off.
Oh, really?
Still
Okay. He was
hammered.
fired up.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So he starts bugling, and he's quite a ways below me now. I could have probably gone further down and been good, but I was losing some shooting. It was super thick on that side. And as I'm working him, another bull, even with me to my right, cuts me off at the same time.
Oh.
Choices, sir.
So this guy's going off, but he's already came in once and kind of was like, yeah.
Yeah. He's a little
Where
bit
you
more
guys at?
wary. Yeah.
Like, he didn't bark or anything. He didn't blow out of there, but he's came in once already.
Yeah.
So this other bull he's like 250 below me. This one's like 500.
Yep.
Okay.
400 for sure. And I start dropping in on this one a little bit lower, and this one bugles again unprovoked.
Oh, baby.
And is like squealing at the top, so fired up. So I bugle at him, and he's another 100 yards closer. Like, this one is even with me elevation-wise. I've got a knob again. Looks like really good situation. Don't have a clue what he is. Just angry bugle. That's all.
Yep.
I haven't seen him yet. The one below me is still slowly kind of coming up to me, but not bugling as much.
Sure.
So I'm kind of splitting my focus between these two, and I'm in an open spot, which sucks.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I need to
You need to, like, commit to one.
pick one
yeah.
to go after here. And as I'm mentally thinking all this one bugles again at like 70. I'm like,
Okay.
done. There we
Done.
are.
Yep.
So grab my pack, put it back on, and I need to get out of this open spot on the other side of this draw and work him from there. Because if he comes to here, he's going to be able to hide in the timber, look out, and be like,
I don't see
yeah,
anything.
nothing.
It's not worth my
Nope,
time.
not good.
Yeah.
As I'm doing this, bull below me is 50 yards. He came in completely silent, saw me this time, blows
Took
out.
off.
Yep, sees me good that
Bark?
time. Didn't bark, but blows out, makes a bunch of ruckus, and that crashing and commotion
Drew the
got
other
this
guy.
thing wound up. Like,
Really?
can't control himself, screaming his brains out. So I didn't have to call. I got to 50 yards from that bull, not having to call. Like, he's raking shit. He's throwing shit around. He's covered it. I see him now. He's covered in mud.
Really?
Like, just look brown.
He's mad.
Yeah, so he just came out of a wallow. I get to a point where I got cover, but I can still shoot. I'm like, all right, I can call him from here. I do the same thing. I look back. I rip a hard bugle because he's already nuts.
Yeah.
And I see his face. He's coming straight up at me, and I can see his nostrils just like flared up.
Yeah,
And I can see his fronts hanging out. And like if you're around cattle,
Yep.
when they're pissed off,
Yep.
they kind of like roll their
They
eyes
go like,
back.
yeah, I was just going to say
Yeah.
their nose goes open.
And their eyes just kind of like sink back into the corner. They just show as much white. Exactly.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, yeah, I got the
So,
stanky eye.
I'm
you
like
know.
looking through this timber, and I can see the whites, and he's just freaking drool
He's
hanging out of
mad.
his mouth, just like beside himself, pissed.
Oh.
So I've got a game trail going from me to him, same elevation. Like, he's gonna walk this thing, and I'm gonna shoot him like frontal at feet, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he hits the game trail. I bugle once more, cuts me back off again, and he just fucking stands there. And I'm ranging them like 38. And I can see most of them.
Yeah.
But there was one, I've got a video of this, you'll see it too. I've got one overhanging limb that's like right at the top of his lung.
Yeah.
Which at 38 is like right, and it's
That's the angle in. That's
it's
how it'll.
3/4 of the way to him. I'm like, dude, that is like the worst
Yeah.
place for that stick. So I just sat there and was silent for a while. And it's like 5 minutes of me just sitting here like this. I'm leg kicked out on a knee, trying to get low because if I got high, then I couldn't see through all the canopy.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there. And finally he just kind of turns his head and looks back down, like looking back like he wanted to leave.
Yeah, of course. Like,
So
well,
I
this
just-
is-
One cow call off to the side. Boom, bugles. Still in the game. He takes one
Really?
step forward and I draw. And I'm sitting here like this. And his face is in the game trail. When I say game trail, it's like a path this wide on the side of a mountain that's this steep.
yeah.
Sure.
So I'm sitting in it like this, full draw. And I can see his face. And I need him to just take one more step up into it to peek around to see what I am.
Yeah.
And he just won't frickin' do it. He's just sitting there. So finally I'm like kind of
Oh, more aggressive.
more aggressive, and he just sitting there staring at me now, right down the game trail. I'm like, God damn, really? So I'm 2.5 minutes at full draw.
No
At this
way.
point, I'm like putting the string stop against my knee, trying to hold this thing.
Oh,
frickin' back.
I've never
Just
tried that before.
Miserable.
Yeah, dude.
Torquing the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And finally, I just I got to let down. He's staring at me, but I can't hold this thing anymore.
Yeah.
I'm dehydrated. I'm tired. I'm cramping and shit.
Yeah.
So I just, as slow as I can, just muscle this freaking thing down. And as soon as I get to the bottom, he steps out in the open.
No.
I'm like, you mother. So I just crank it back. I'm up now. I'm like, I don't fucking care. Thump. Smack him.
Really?
So
What?
he steps up, wheels down, and there's a cliff right below that game trail, and he freaking airmails it off this cliff, hits the deck, gets up, rolls, crashes right there.
Really?
Yep.
Holy
Punched
cow,
him right
dude.
through the shoulder.
Really? Yeah. So
That's
what was
incredible.
what was the total distance you shot him at?
I ranged him at 36, and then he kind of paralleled. So
Yeah.
I just put that second pin right
Mega
on
meet
and
him?
Mega meted him.
Ooh, the
Right
mega
through the
meat.
old shoulder.
Don't
So
listen to people who say you can't shoot a mega meat or expandable on an elk. Like
that's the third bull that I've killed with a mega meat.
every time
Yeah.
we've talked at least one other time where you've been like mega meat's working. I grabbed the wrong broadhead. I think you told me once and shot him with it.
So, yeah, that same
You
race
did?
and
He did.
Oh.
2 years ago, I had a mixed quiver. I think
That's a great bar name. The mixed quiver.
that is a good bar name.
Yeah.
That's
I'll take
ours.
credit
Yeah,
for that.
Yeah, dude,
Dibs.
don't- you're not
Dibs.
allowed to say that.
TM.
TM. But I had mega meats for mule deer, and I had strikers, I think, for
Yeah.
elk,
Yeah. Yeah.
and moved in on this elk and grabbed one out of the quiver, and it ended up being a mega meat. Shot him in his bed, and it just destroyed him. So
Mega meats are mean.
yeah, I get it
Do
when
some
like
work.
people if they're worried about hitting the shoulder. Like prior to this, I wouldn't have wanted to shoot him in the shoulder with a mechanical,
Yeah.
but it freaking pounded him.
Really.
If you hit that knuckle,
Yeah.
I don't care what you're shooting. I don't think it's going through.
Right.
Iron will.
They're not going to chisel through that big old
I don't think so.
mass.
And if they do, you're not going to get
You're not
enough.
getting the penetration. you
No,
need.
if it does break it, you broke his leg, but you're not getting into the vitals. I
No.
don't think at that point. So, and then the flip side is if you hit him back, I'd rather have a
big old
wide
hole. And
expanding
I always
hole,
just
yeah.
aimed back
Yep.
with my
Right.
expandables, and like 70 yards was about how far they always went. If you
Yeah.
aim a little farther back, you clip a lung or two.
Goes right through
You
the
get something,
ribs.
enough
Yeah,
stuff
man.
back there. Yeah.
No, Joe, that's a heck of a story, man. And you did it all by yourself.
yeah,
It was
you're
nuts.
no one to talk
solo.
I had some buddies that were like 15 miles on the other side that ended up moving in a little bit closer, and then 2 buddies that I used to hunt with like all the time out there. They were hunting the crazies, and they were there before I was. And I said, "Get your ass back here! It's on fire now." Because they're like, "We haven't heard a bugle in there when we were there," and it was nuts while I was there.
Really?
So they came back actually the day that I killed them, and hiked down to the camp, and I was like, got one. So I was caller for the rest of the week. Then did a little bit of mule deer
You
hunting.
got into another one, didn't you? You guys shot another
With
one, didn't you?
Couple.
with that group.
Yeah. So my buddies from the UP that were hunting 15 miles away, we got into one with them, first elk. And then I called in a different bull. No, I'm sorry. That was a different time. Aaron and Jeff got on a bull while I was mule deer hunting. They shot that one. And then Ryan, the UP group, after I had left, moved into my area and killed a 6x6.
Really? Nice
So,
one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then Curtis was in there, 2 days ago and missed a bull. So
Curtis.
Bumper
Shout out
bow. At
Curtis.
least he knows how to put it back together if it breaks, hopefully.
he texted me, or actually talked to him quite a bit last night and today. And they were in him. I think he said he saw 16 bulls last night. So
Holy cow.
it's still going.
I
It's
gotta-
still ramping.
I got to get a tag for there. I tried to this year. I just didn't get drawn.
Yeah.
But
Stop
how
sucking.
many points does it take to guarantee a...
There's no guarantee, and it's changing every year. So the way that it is right now for the general combo, this
Yeah.
isn't the elk license or the deer license. This is the combo that they
Yep.
give 17,000 of. If you have 0 points, your odds are, and this is kind of up in the air, but 70% is what they publish.
Oh, that's
If
right.
you have
You
1
said
point,
this.
you have 0. If you have 2 points, it's 96. So
So either 0 or 2.
0 or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have 1 point, you might as well not even apply.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
next year I'll go in with 0.
Just see what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah,
if
me
I,
too.
Yeah, that's what I did. And I was going to go with you. That was the original plan, was for me to go.
Well, you
with
put in for the alternate list, so you didn't get a point.
No, I didn't get a point. That's right. Because it was too late, I want to say, by the
You
time
didn't
I thought.
get a point?
No,
No.
that
Sucks.
No, that's fine. I'd
So-
rather go with 0.
But what's cool is if you don't draw or you don't apply at all, like you didn't this year, you have
Yeah.
to apply in March.
Mm.
If you miss that window, or if you had different plans or something that fell through, you can put in for the alternate list in June. Then anyone that draws the elk tag, and then they say they draw New Mexico, they can go on one elk hunt a year.
Yeah.
They're going to turn their Montana in and go to New Mexico.
Gotcha.
So then there's 500 tags that come back of those 17,000 ish.
Yeah.
Something
I
like that.
did not get drawn for that.
No.
But next year I'm going in March, and can you do June for leftover after you don't get drawn?
Yeah. As soon as they publish the draw results, then you can put in for the alternate list if you don't draw. Then my buddy Brad drew a tag that way last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it does happen.
I mean, it would be sweet, yeah. The original plan was I was just gonna grab a cow tag and shoot a cow.
Just
Would
rip.
you have had a shot at a cow? Would I
You
have shot
would
one?
have killed a cow.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
I'm not above killing a cow.
Like first morning, because I had the
that's
spike
right.
6 cows and the little bull come into like 40. So we would have been packing on day one.
Yep. I'm
Shoot
packing
one.
always. Yeah. Well, Jared,
That's elk.
you have to tell me. You have to take us out here. Make it smooth.
I've never taken us out of here
Yeah,
before.
all right, try it.
That was a very inspiring story there, Joe.
To do it solo is pretty cool.
It is, man.
Like to do,
Like,
not a lot of guys would be cool hanging and doing that by themselves. And
I've done a couple whitetail solo trips, and I don't think it could compare to anything like that. For number one, you're in a vast wilderness where,
with bears,
well, yeah, bears,
mean
but
kind of bears.
but also, I mean, we've talked about this. Anytime you split up from a hunting group, I mean, there's always the risk of injury. You know, you could be stranded up there with weather, kind of like your other trip that you had gone on. I mean, that was crazy. You're packing out an elk and you're so tired you just kind of fell,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then fell asleep for 2 hours in the snow.
Yeah, that wasn't smart.
You know,
I've gotten a lot smarter since then, though, and kind of know my limitations with stuff. And
Sure.
you got to find
Exactly.
find your way a little bit. that
Yeah,
way.
and I'm still like not saying I don't get tunnel vision and
I've seen it.
push
Yeah.
that point a little bit, but
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's
some Joe
it's
vision.
always good. Yeah,
But no,
always worth
it's it's an experience that you get to have that you're by yourself, and no one else gets to have that experience but you.
And
You will
I-
forever have that experience.
I do like hunting with other people too, and it's because I didn't usually like I have a solo hunt or two a year, and I didn't elk hunt for myself last year. I didn't draw a tag, and so the only solo hunt that I had was the sheep hunt last year,
Oh,
which
yeah.
really wasn't a solo hunt because you have a guide and a camera guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I kind of missed that
camaraderie.
quiet-
Yeah.
that feeling a little bit.
Yeah.
But overall, elk hunting is definitely, if you have a good partner and both people know how to call,
Yeah.
then hunting in pairs is significantly more efficient.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
you, like the 2 bulls that I didn't call in and kill, if I had a caller that knew what he was doing, 100% different opportunity.
You were going to teach me and everything. I was really excited to be
Yeah.
a caller.
I was banking on you.
Yeah.
I've never had someone call for me successfully. I don't know if I've ever actually had someone ever call for me now that I think about it. But so everything that I've done up to this point has been,
I want to be that man.
you should be that
I
man.
wanna
Big
be
shoes
that-
to fill
that
there,
guy.
Jimmer. You
Take
see him
my, what would that
reins?
be? My,
Mantle?
No, I'm thinking of like a virginity type word.
Oh,
Talks
your
Chastity.
card.
Deflower me.
Yeah, that's all right. That's better. Yeah, it's
Decall
classy
me.
to say it. Yeah.
Yuck.
So
You can end it there.
Yeah.
No, that was a sweet story. I'm excited to hear more of them coming up. Next up, we've got James.
Wait, you have to say end because we're going to start.
Yeah, I'm
fresh
going
again.
to.
Oh, you're saying next week for
Yes.
people who are listening.
Next week, we're going to hear about James's moose hunt. And I'm excited to dive into that one as well because that's another story we haven't heard about. So I'm going to grill him as much as I grilled Joe. It's not a whole lot. But thank you for listening. Smash that subscribe button. Like, share, subscribe on every platform that you know of. And we'll see you next week.